All right, let's dive into a topic that is, no joke, the absolute bedrock of a real estate broker's career: managing trust accounts. You get this right, you build a rock solid foundation of trust. But if you get it wrong, well, that's exactly what we're here to make sure doesn't happen. I want you to really think about this for a second. Your client hands you a check that might be every penny they've saved for years. It's not just paper, right? It's their dream, it's their future home. They are putting all of that trust in you to keep it safe. So these rules we're about to cover, they aren't just about ticking boxes for compliance. They're about honoring that huge responsibility. So where do we even start? Well, before you can protect the money, you have to know exactly what the law considers a trust fund. And believe me, the definition is probably a lot broader than you think. This is step one in what is truly a broker's sacred trust. Okay, now here's where it gets really interesting. Trust funds isn't just about cash or a check. The law casts a super wide net. So if a buyer says, hey, I'll put up the title to my car as the deposit, that car's pink slip becomes a trust fund. And you have to handle it with the exact same care and according to the exact same rules as a massive cashier's check. Now that we know what we're protecting, let's talk about the tool for the job. You have to stop thinking of a trust account as just some regulatory hoop you have to jump through. It's not. It's a legal fortress, specifically engineered to shield your client's money from some very real and very scary dangers. This chart just lays it all out crystal clear. Look at that first line, lawsuits. If you, the broker, get sued for something completely unrelated, your business account can be frozen in a heartbeat. But the client's money sitting in that trust account, it's protected. It's shielded. Same deal if the broker passes away. That money is legally separate. It never becomes part of the estate. It's not the broker's money. It's a fortress for the client. And then you have the superpower of FDIC insurance. Now, in your regular business account, the whole account is insured up to the limit, currently $250,000. But here is the magic of a properly set up trust account. Each individual client's deposit is insured up to that limit. So if you're holding funds for 10 different clients, you've got 10 times the protection. That's not just good practice, it's a massive selling point for your professionalism. All right, so we've covered the what and the why. We know what we're protecting and why it's so critical. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty, the strict rules of the road. Because when it comes to deadlines and who can actually touch the money, the law leaves absolutely zero wiggle room. This one is mission critical. You have to burn this into your brain. The 3 business day rule. The second you or your salesperson gets your hands on those trust funds, a clock starts ticking. And by the end of the 3rd business day, that money has to be in one of 3 places: back in the client's hands, in a neutral escrow, or safely in the broker's trust account. That's it. No exceptions, period. Now, it's not just about getting money in, it's about who has the authority to take money out. And that list of people with the keys to the vault is incredibly short. For anyone who isn't the broker of record, like a salesperson or an office admin, a verbal go-ahead is completely worthless in the eyes of the law. You must have their authorization in writing. Just let that sink in for a second. A broker can delegate the task of signing a check, sure, but they can never, ever delegate the ultimate legal responsibility. So if that employee you authorized makes a mistake or, worse, commits fraud, guess who's on the hook? The broker. The buck always stops with the broker. Always. Okay, we need to talk about the cardinal sin of managing a trust account. This is the kind of simple mistake that can have absolutely career-ending consequences. It's called commingling, and frankly, it's the fastest way for a good broker to lose their license. The definition itself is pretty simple, right? Commingling is just mixing your client's money with your money. But it can happen in a few different ways, and all of them are a huge problem. I want you to picture an unbreakable wall between client funds and broker funds. Commingling is any act that puts a crack in that wall. So violation number 1 is the most obvious. This is when you deposit your own personal money or your company's business funds into the client trust account. You just can't do it. You can't use it as a temporary holding account for your own cash, even for a day. It's a clear-cut violation. Now, there is one very tiny, very specific exception to that rule. The law says a broker can keep up to $200 of their own money in the trust account. But this isn't for your convenience. Its only purpose is to cover bank service charges so that you never accidentally use a client's funds to pay a Banksy. The second violation is just the reverse, and it's every bit as serious. This happens when a client's trust funds end up in the broker's general business account or, even worse, their personal account. This is actually a double whammy. It's commingling, and it also means you've already broken that 3-day rule for handling the funds properly. This third type of commingling is a little more subtle, which is why you have to be so careful. Let's say a deal closes and you've officially earned your commission. That money is now yours. From that moment, you have 25 days to move it out of the trust account. If you just leave your earned fees sitting in there longer than that, that's considered commingling. And that brings us to our final crucial piece of the puzzle, the paper trail. Look, if the trust account is your fortress, then your records are the walls, the moat, and the watchtowers. Keeping meticulous records isn't just a chore. It's a broker's #1 proof of their integrity and their absolute best defense if an auditor ever comes knocking. So what does a good paper trail actually look like? Well, your records at any given moment need to be able to answer 4 key questions. 1. What's the complete history of every single transaction? 2. What's the total running balance in the account? 3. What's all the activity just for client A? And 4. Exactly how much money do you owe client A right now? If your system can't answer all 4 of those, it's not compliant. And you can't just set up a system and then hope for the best. The law demands a monthly reconciliation. That means you have to sit down every single month and compare your internal books to the official bank statement line by line to make sure every last penny matches up. It is so crucial for catching small mistakes before they balloon into huge problems. And finally, the big question: how long do you have to hang on to all this paperwork? The magic number to remember is 3. A broker has to keep everything, listings, canceled checks, deposit slips, all of it, for a minimum of 3 years from the closing date. And if the deal falls through, it's 3 years from the listing date. So what's the real takeaway here? Managing a trust account is built on a foundation of rules, for sure, but it runs on integrity. It's how you prove, day in and day out, that you're worthy of that immense trust a client places in you. So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. If an auditor walked into your office tomorrow, would you be ready?